I'm not really into poetry, but I found a good one that felt appropriate for this episode on celebrities. It's called Fame is a Bee by Emily Dickinson. And I'm going to read it because it's very short. Fame is a bee. It has a song. It has a sting. Ah, too. It has a wing.
And just like all other poetry, I go, I think I get it, but I probably don't.
Yeah, that's it. Fame is a bee. It has a song. It has a sting. Ah, too. It has a wing. So yeah, fame is fleeting, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Is the big takeaway.
Yep.
But also the sting, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Fame and celebrity are great, but they come with some downsides.
Yeah.
You know,
there's a price to celebrity. That's pretty easy to see.
I think one of the biggest downsides, or at least it's appropriate for this show, is that it can attract some unscrupulous characters to your orbit.
Yeah.
People who will take advantage of you or make you feel insecure so that you feel like you need them.
Okay.
That level of dependency and trust can put famous people in very vulnerable situations. Situations that can make them susceptible to, fraud.
If you'd like to earn CPE credit for listening to this episode, visit earmarkcpe.com. Download the app, take a short quiz, and get your CPE certificate. Continuing education has never been so easy. And now, on to the episode.
This is Oh My Fraud, a true crime podcast where instead of murder most foul, we have numbers most false. I'm Caleb Newquist.
And I'm Greg Kite.
Greg, should we read a review?
Absolutely. I love reading reviews. Here's one that was actually left on the Earmark app. It says, quote, "The non-professional cursing throughout the podcast was unnecessary. There's enough interest in the topic alone. I may curse, but it's not a great presentation of the profession to include it in a, quote, professional, unquote, education class." And that was followed by them leaving us exactly 1 star.
All right. I agree that the non-professional cursing was unnecessary. But fortunately, as we have discussed, Greg, like 99% of our cursing is very fucking professional. So
goddamn professional. Also, I like how they said that there's enough interest in the topic alone without the cursing, but I like to think that at least 5% of our listeners don't care at all about the fraud, and they're just listening because they're swear enthusiasts.
I am not kidding you. I am not making this up. I have had multiple people, which is more than 2, say to me that they like the way that I say fuck. And I don't know what it is. Like, whatever. I mean, I've been cursing a long time, and I will say I have also been paid to curse for now going on probably close to 15 years.
Yeah,
so like
that's true.
It is professional cursing, reviewer of this podcast.
A good point. Yeah. You are. If you're getting paid to do it, you're a pro. So there you go.
Yeah. Anyway. Like, we love getting reviews, even the 1-star ones. So whether but we much prefer the 5-star variety. But anyway, if you're a fraud enthusiast or a swear enthusiast, leave us a rating and a review on Apple or Spotify. Wherever you listen to the podcast, leave us a review there or a rating, and we much appreciate it.
Yeah, do it.
Greg, we share a strange characteristic, don't we?
Yes, we are both swear enthusiasts.
Yes, but no, that's not what I meant.
Oh, did you meant that we're both hardcore Disney adults?
No, never mind.
Just me? Do you not?
I mean, maybe I'm a Pixar adult. I don't know.
It's like a
but
subgenre. Okay, well, no, wait. I know what it is. It's the lactose intolerance, right? And which is okay because we both agreed to never eat Ben and Jerry's on days that we record. So that's
no, that's not it. What I was referring to is that we enjoy. I don't know if that's the right word. We enjoy some. Yeah, we have some low level fame. I think you may enjoy a little bit more local fame as a stalwart comedian in the greater Salt Lake City area. But what I'm actually referring to is our low-level fame in the accounting profession.
Yeah, and yes, I would agree with you, but I also have to emphasize that it's an extremely low level of fame. Because I think I remember you saying that you were kind of proud that you felt like you sort of coined the phrase accounting famous.
I didn't coin that.
What's that? You did?
Come on. No, that wasn't me. No.
But you embraced it. And the whole idea of accounting famous is also synonymous with so not famous. But yes, there have been a couple times that I have met people for the first time and they've kind of geeked out meeting me. They've been podcast listeners. But they also pulled it together pretty quickly, after realizing how extremely low the level of accounting fame was.
Yeah.
So, and it was, and I don't know if you get the same when you do kind of feel that vibe coming off of somebody. It's I don't know the right word. It's not disconcerting. It's definitely surprising. You're kind of going, huh? You're feeling weird to meet me. All right.
Yeah, it's I have several encounters that are people who either were introduced to me or saw my name on a name tag or just recognized me for and again unsure how, but I it used to be I try not to be dismissive because in the cases where they're excited, I'm like, oh, they're having a nice time. I don't want to rain on their parade.
Yeah. It's flattering. It's nice. You don't want to be
It's super flattering. And I think it's also, it's one of those things where I remember someone, I don't remember who said this, but the right level of fame is where when you go someplace and lots of, and people know you're going to be there and then they show up to see you because you're going to do whatever it is that you do. But then you can walk out of that place and go to Whole Foods and people won't recognize.
Right.
It's just totally fine.
Right. Absolutely.
If you're Michael Jordan, you can't fucking leave the house.
Right. Yeah. Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't get to be a Disney adult.
Right.
That's just not that's the sting of fame. Thanks, Emily Dickinson. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah. But anyway, rather than continue talking about our petty celebrity, Greg, I thought we could talk about some real celebrities.
Yeah.
Specifically those who have been victims of fraud. The celebrity, Billy Joel, singer, songwriter, drinker, maybe a heavy drinker. The Piano Man. Greg, are you a fan of Billy Joel?
No. I am okay. I'm unequivocally not a Billy Joel enthusiast. If I was a listener of our podcast, I'd probably stop listening to this podcast knowing that Billy Joel was part of the topic of this episode. I can't say I've ever actually left a business establishment when Billy Joel started playing on their speakers as background music. I have left a store when Neil Diamond came on. So Billy Joel's maybe not the bottom of the list, but he's pretty damn close.
You got it. This rings a bell for me. If you listen to episode 36 of Oh My Fraud, it is about Selena, the Tejano icon, and there is a discussion about Greg's intense dislike of Billy Joel and a few other artists that I'm not going to spoil. You should go back and listen to episode 36. But in any case, this is now all coming back to me.
Yeah.
Anyway, Billy Joel. So Greg noted. Greg's dislike has been noted for the record, but we have a show to do.
Right.
So I'm going to press on.
I'm a professional. I quit the podcast right now.
Right.
Caleb, I just can't do this.
I can't work like this.
Not with this. You're on your own.
All right. Billy Joel first rose to fame in the 1970s with his second studio album, Piano Man, and then his breakout fifth album, The Stranger, in 1977. From 1971 to 1993, he released 12 albums in total. He's one of the world's best-selling musical artists with over 160 million albums sold worldwide. He has many hit songs that you've no doubt heard.
Yeah.
The Piano Man, Just the Way You Are, Only the Good Die Young, Uptown Girl, River of Dreams. Oh my God, there's countless Billy Joel songs that everyone knows.
I went onto iTunes because you know how you can listen to just a snippet of the songs.
Yeah,
on
right.
there, because I was convinced that there was a Billy Joel song that I was like, that's a good one, and I couldn't find it. So I might just be wrong that there. I knew it was funny. I was like going, yeah, I know this one. Yeah, I'm familiar with this one. Yep, I've heard this one, and I just listened to enough of it to go, still hate it. Yeah, and then I gave up, and I was like, maybe there's not one.
Oh, well, sorry, Greg.
Yeah,
I mean, anyway,
but as you said, they're all familiar. I mean, he's the guy ubiquitous.
He wrote a lot of hit songs, a lot of pop records, a lot of pop hits. He also had a very successful touring career. He was one of the first U.S. artists to play in the Soviet Union when they lifted the ban on rock music. I didn't even know. I guess I forgot that was a thing. But yeah, they didn't have rock music in the Soviet Union for a long time.
Yeah.
For those of you too young to know what the Soviet Union is, Jesus, go read a book. Okay.
But welcome. We're glad that you're here.
But yeah, we were glad you're listening to the podcast.
You fucking imbecile. We're so glad you're here.
Go to a history class. As of this recording, we're recording this in August of 2023. He is still playing monthly concerts at Madison Square Garden in New York City.
Yeah. Yep. He is.
My wife has seen him at Madison Square Garden in New York City, and from what I can tell, some of the fans are they do not appreciate the people standing. For the show.
Sit down. I didn't come here to get exercise.
Yeah.
That
was one of her big takeaways from the show.
That's awesome. I did a quick Google of his concerts, and apparently with the monthly Madison Square Garden residency, he makes $2 million per show.
Yes.
So he's not there. That doesn't $2 million a month.
Yep.
For one show, not a bad gig.
And maybe this will improve Mr. Joel's standing in the eyes of one Gregory Kite. It is my understanding that he leaves a couple of I think either the first row or the first few rows of those shows, he leaves them empty, and he brings people from the nosebleeds, I think, to put them into the front row or something like that.
It seems
it is some kind of like, like there is something about those first few rows at his shows that he ends up filling with, people that are in the way back or something.
Right. See, and that might sound altruistic to some. To me, it sounds desperate. Where I understand no one's willing to pay the money to sit in the front row of a Billy Joel concert. So I'll take you people who clearly for whatever reason desperately want to see me, even though you can only see me on the Jumbotron, and bring you up here.
All right.
Didn't Billy Joel wrap a couple cars around a couple of trees too in Long Island?
Yeah. He's had his share of bad driving incidents. Yeah, for sure. Motorcycle wrecks, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, needless to say, when you sell 160 million albums and have many hit songs and a very successful touring career, you have made some money.
Yeah.
Quite a lot, actually.
Yes.
Anyway, during the early years of his career, Billy Joel began a relationship with a woman named Elizabeth Weber Small. Small issue with this relationship was that Elizabeth was then married to Billy Joel's former bandmate, John Small.
Yikes.
Yeah, small matter.
Yeah.
When the affair was discovered, Elizabeth left both of them. But then she reconciled with Joel later on, and they were married in 1973. And oddly, she became his manager.
Yeah. Wow. That sounds exhausting.
Yeah. As Greg and I are experienced in the Institute of Marriage, so my wife is the boss, no doubt about it. But in a professional context, she's not. So there's some relief there.
And just the scandal and the reconciliation, and then all of that just sounds like oof. That's the part of the biopic that would be tough to sit through.
Right.
Where you're just and you're kind of shaking your head.
Like, this is going to go wrong.
Right.
This is going to go badly for him.
You don't need a literary style foreshadowing to just go, okay, all right, let's see how this plays out.
Yeah. According to a New York Post account of a Billy Joel biography from 2014, lots of people around him considered Elizabeth, quote, controlling, manipulative, rude, and far more enthralled with the rock and roll lifestyle than Joel.
Wait, which means she was more enthralled with the rock and roll lifestyle than she was enthralled with Billy Joel?
It seems to be. Yeah.
Okay. Or that she was, I mean, either way, or that she was more enthralled in the rock and roll lifestyle than Joel was enthralled with the rock and roll lifestyle.
I think he was pretty enthralled with the rock and roll lifestyle. I think so too.
He seems pretty into it.
Especially you see old pictures of him from the 70s and he wears like fur coats and stuff. And it's like he was enjoying himself for sure.
Yep.
But maybe she just enjoyed herself even that much more. I don't know.
Right. Enjoyed the trappings.
You bet.
And I'm sure there's plenty of trappings to enjoy.
Indeed. In 1982, I'm fast forwarding a bit, but in 1982, the couple filed for divorce.
What?
Yeah, surprise, right?
I thought
9 years though.
9
years.
9 years.
That's a run
for a rock star. That's till death do us part, basically.
Yeah. That same New York Post article said that when Joel was in the hospital after a motorcycle accident, Elizabeth, quote, came to visit, contract in hand. Joel recalls her asking him to sign everything he had over to her. End of quote.
Wow. So like the divorce papers while he's hooked up to a heart machine.
Yeah, in a body cast or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. Anyway, Elizabeth's brother Frank Weber, who had been working for the couple, sided with Joel in the divorce and became his manager when the couple eventually separated. In August 1989, just before Joel was releasing his 11th studio album, Stormfront, he fired Frank Weber after an audit of Joel's finances revealed some serious discrepancies.
Okay.
Yeah. Joel sued Weber for $90 million, $30 million in compensatory damage, and $60 million in punitive damages.
Wow.
Alleging fraud and breach of fiduciary duty.
And this was in 1989. I mean, $90 million is a lot of money in 2023 dollars. In 1989 money, that's back when state lotteries were just starting off, and everybody was like, "Oh, if I won $1 million in the lottery, I would be set. I'd be the richest guy for the rest of my life."
Totally. And these days, people, if they win $1 million, they're like, I gotta keep working.
Right.
This is just
exactly.
Is this even worth it?
But back then, he's suing a guy for $90 million. Let me see if I can pick that apart, because this is what I'm reading in there.
Yep.
So $30 million of compensatory damages basically means you stole $30 million from me. Give me my $30 million back. And then the $60 million in punitive is like, you're also just a bad person, and because you're such a bad person, I'm demanding that you pay me an extra $60 million for just being an asshole.
Also correct.
Okay.
You have it exactly right.
Perfect.
Yep. A September 1989 report from the Los Angeles Times listed a sampling of the allegations, which included, first, a $2.5 million in loans were given without Joel's knowledge or authorization to various horse breeding and real estate partnerships and other businesses controlled by Frank.
Okay.
Frank Weber lost more than $10 million of Joel's money in investments of a highly speculative nature, many of which involved Weber's own companies.
Oof. Weber
double billed Joel for his music videos, cheated him on expenses, including travel and accounting fees, and mortgaged Joel's copyrights for $15 million without disclosing it on Billy Joel's financial statements. And finally, caused phony financial statements to be issued to Billy Joel, which painted an unrealistic picture of his finances and the value of his investments and failed to reflect liabilities, guarantees, loans, and mortgages. So there's a lot going on there.
There is.
A lot of which... This is certainly this is gross mismanagement at the least, or at best it is gross mismanagement, and at worst probably fraud, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah. Well, it's absolutely fraud. I mean, once we're saying that there's things that aren't being disclosed on Joel's financial statements and phony financial statements, and that there's things that are happening without Joel's knowledge or authorization. I mean, I'm saying all that stuff is
that's
fraud.
That'd be a breach of
fiduciary duty.
Fiduciary duty.
Absolutely,
correct.
And again, because I mean, if we really want to get technical about fraud, the way I understand it from a criminal perspective is it's not just that it's beyond mismanaging money. It's not just that you
made some bad bets.
Right. Like you said, that there was what he lost more than $10 million on highly speculative investments, and it's like that's one thing where it's like, okay, we're risking a lot and they were bad bets and we lost a bunch of money. That happens to people, but it's when it's like they were highly speculative because it was going into my companies that I was doing moonshots with. Then you go, okay, so you did intend to actually divert these funds to there was scienter is the specific, which is like criminal intent. So
And like you said, I think the idea that he borrowed against Joel's copyrights for $15 million and then didn't tell him.
Right.
So then not only did he used an asset that didn't belong to him, borrowed money against it, and then just didn't tell the person who actually owned the asset.
Yeah, exactly.
That's beyond shady, I suppose.
It's definitely beyond mismanagement, and I guess that's the thing is
beyond mismanagement is probably is what I mean to say.
And if things go to and I would have to assume when things went to court, but I think this was settled out of court
ultimately, yes, which we will get to here in a second.
But if it were to go to court, that would be the entire argument that the defense would make was it's like this. He wasn't trying to rip him off. He was just trying to take care of business. And was what he was put in charge of, was taking care of business. And then they're like, taking care of business wasn't even a Billy Joel song. That was a Bachman Turner Overdrive.
Correct. Ultimately, Frank Weber declared bankruptcy in 1990. So it wasn't even that long. And Billy Joel was only able to recoup about $8 million in a settlement out of court. There was a bunch of lawsuits that, went on concurrently or in the aftermath of this. Frank Weber, sued Billy Joel and his then wife, Christy Brinkley. Both of those were dismissed. Joel sued his former accountants and former lawyers. According to everything I could find, none of this really amounted to much, except lawyers getting rich.
Right, that's what it sounds like. Yeah. A lot of lawyers sending bills. Yeah,
nice work, lawyers.
Exactly.
Actually, but there is one thing. The second song on Billy Joel's River of Dreams album is entitled "The Great Wall of China," and that is about Frank Weber's betrayal of Billy Joel.
Oh, because that's how you really get justice is a diss track.
A diss track.
Yeah.
In an interview with Entertainment Tonight from the early 90s, Joel explained that despite his success, he'd had, some rocky financial times. He spent years touring to make all the money back that he lost. When he, if he had that money, he's like, he would rather be at home. And so, that's he did have to earn all the money back. And granted, he's Billy Joel. He's got a lot of hit songs. Like, he can earn the money. He can do the work. So there's that.
Yeah.
Little more recently.
Yeah. I mean, and again, it's one of those things where it's hard. And this is going to come up, I think, with, any celebrity that we bring up is you're also going, you did have this sucks, and you got a lot. I mean, again, alleged $30 million was taken from him. Mm-hmm. But again, a quick internet search, and I can't say that this is accurate numbers, and I think they even say it's estimated. But right now, Billy Joel's net worth is $225 million. Mm-hmm, so he lost. So if he lost $30 million, granted, that's a tenth of what his current net worth, but I'm also thinking he also got $225 million. Yeah. So likely you probably could have stopped. You probably could have spent that time at home anyways, and you just wanted the money.
Maybe.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah. A little more recently, Billy Joel has given the impression that all of this financial trouble and betrayal is in the past. A 2013 interview with the New York Times Magazine, in that he said that he is, quote, not bitter about any of that stuff. End of quote.
Okay.
He even told a story of how he ran into Frank Weber in the Hamptons.
Right. So Frank Weber's not doing so bad either.
Frank Weber's doing fine
I
too.
think he's all right.
They had a conversation. So, quote, I have absolutely no hard feelings. I let all that go. I can't carry that stuff around. You'd be pissed off your whole life.
Right.
And
so he paid
he's
a
not
lot of,
wrong.
Right.
He's not wrong about that. But it's much easier when you can earn $2 million a night doing a concert at Madison Square Garden.
Exactly. And I'm also, I mean, we were saying that Billy Joel clearly paid a whole lot of money to a whole lot of lawyers. Also, that statement makes me think that he's doing the work in therapy too. There's a therapist that's getting a check every week as well from Billy Joel.
And I mean, to be fair, again, this will not change Greg Kite's opinion of Billy Joel, but
not about his music, no.
Well, yes, fair. He was a little more, he seems pretty honest about his own responsibility. I mean, in that same interview, he said, quote, I always had the sense that, okay, I'm an artist and I shouldn't have to be concerned about something as banal as money, which is baloney. It's my job. It's what I do. I didn't pay any attention to it and I trusted other people and I got screwed.
Yeah.
So, like, got to give him credit for, like, taking responsibility because that's what therapists tell us to do. So,
yeah.
He is taking responsibility, and,
right.
So yeah, you can tell he feels. I think he knows how lucky he is.
Right.
I get that sense anyway. Even though he hasn't recorded a record in decades, Billy Joel's residency at Madison Square Garden is still going. It will end in July 2024, which will be his 100th performance in the residency and his 150th concert at the Garden overall.
The celebrity, Dane Cook, comedian, actor, alleged joke stealer. Caleb, do you like Dane Cook's comedy?
It's weird because I didn't think I did. And then in the process of researching this episode, I caught some of his old stuff and I watched him on I caught a clip of a podcast that we're going to mention here in a bit. And I think he's funny.
Yeah.
He's like legitimately funny, and not even like he would be, not that he's just a good stand-up comedian. He strikes me as a funny guy. Like if you were hanging out with him, like you'd probably be laughing a lot and having a nice time.
Yeah. My take. So just to full disclosure, I love Dane Cook. I'm a huge Dane Cook fan. I started listening.
Have you seen him perform?
I haven't seen him perform live, but I think I've either watched or heard all of his comedy specials. And the thing that I guess I'm sad about for him is that I feel like Dane Cook has become the Nickelback of stand-up comedy, where he just, for whatever reason, just the population at large just decided, hey, we've loved this guy for a long time, but hey, should we all just start hating him now? Let's all just start hating him now.
We had a meeting.
Okay.
We had a meeting and we decided that we're going to hate him now.
Yep. So he's now we all hate him because he's just hack. And that's, and again, and you and I were talking about him just briefly before we started recording. And one of the things that I think might be part of that is I think because and I'm for real when I say he's the Nickelback of stand-up comedy. I think when people look at sort of the image of Nickelback and you look at the persona of Dane Cook, it's people who are very popular, very successful in their respective entertainment fields, but also there's just enough kind of hint of douchiness with each of them. That I think that's what ends up people just going, yeah, okay, actually we did like him, but now we're not going to anymore because of that. So deserved or not,
popularity is fickle, my friend.
It is. It's kind of like fame at being a bee. So. Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fleeting.
So
fleeting. Yes.
Fleeting. But
fame
anyways,
is a bee.
But
anyway.
for the record, I think he's brilliant. I just listened to, like, literally it was last month. I was on a road trip with my fiance. We listened to Dane, one of like something he released, it sounded like during the pandemic. It was like recorded in his home, I believe.
Okay.
And
right.
but it was great. It was really fun to listen to it. So maybe not the best special he's ever had, but I was into it.
All right.
So, for those of you who are unfamiliar with Dane Cook's backstory, his comedy career started in 1990 with his big break coming in 1998 when he appeared on Comedy Central's Premium Blend, which was sort of a showcase show where they'd have, several, it was just a shorter, it wasn't a full special. It was a much shorter set that he had on there. Again, I've seen his Premium Blend special. One other thing, if I'm going to give some commentary about Dane Cook, I really love listening to his comedy. I like watching it a whole lot less because he's too animated. Like his body language is over exaggerated, and I feel like it distracts me from what he's saying. So I do prefer to listen rather than to watch. But
noted.
But Dane Cook started releasing comedy albums in the 2000s, and his career really started ramping up in the mid-2000s and peaked in 2007 when he became the second comedian ever in history to sell out Madison Square Garden's arena, and he started an arena tour. And again, he wasn't the second comedian to do arena tour, but he was the second comedian to sell out Madison Square Garden. But during the time when Dane Cook was selling out Madison Square Garden and going on arena tours, he also, as I'm sure our listeners know, began starring in a lot of movies, none of which you probably remember. But again, in that Dane Cook special that I just listened to last month, I remember him saying something like this. He said, "Good luck, Chuck only got 30% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it paid for 100% of my house." So however bad he thought his movies were, he was like the guy for your rom-com kind of funny movies for maybe a couple of years. Where
there's a decent stretch of time there in the 2000s where he was doing a lot.
Were any of them nominated for any awards? No. But did he get paychecks? Hell yeah, he did.
Certainly did.
His Dane Cook's reputation in comedy is mixed, as we've already alluded to. Some comedians just hate him. They don't think he's funny at all. Caleb, do you remember it's a syndicated radio show called The Bob and Tom Show?
Of course.
Yeah, okay. A lot of people haven't even heard about it. They were based out of Indianapolis, but they were syndicated on my local rock station here. It was a morning show, and they had stand-ups on there all the time. And they were kind of like if you were a comedian, you wanted to get on their radio show.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it was Tom of Bob and Tom. He was just like, I don't get it. He's not telling jokes. He's not doing stand-up. And that was so even when he was on the top, when Dane Cook was on the top of his game, there was a lot of people that didn't understand his structure, his delivery, that sort of thing. So that's not a new thing, that there was people that just weren't Dane Cook fans, even when it seemed like everyone was. But others do think he's funny because they honestly think he's funny. Some of them maybe, I guess some of that you got to also think he was a paycheck. So there might be people who stayed on the Dane Cook team because they were his opening acts, or they were getting some sort of paycheck because of their association with him. But wild success, notably in the comedy world, can come with a good share of resentment. And so that's a factor in the Dane Cook story, because as we've said, he was wildly successful. Dane Cook, as we talked about at the beginning of this segment about him, he was also famously accused of stealing jokes, specifically from both Joe Rogan and from Louis C.K. Joe Rogan and Louis C.K., those two universally respected comedians. Those guys. So Anyway, Dane Cook has had a very successful career in show business, and for most of his early career, his half-brother, Daryl McCauley, served as his business manager, and which was wonderful and was a great relationship until about 2008. And as Dane Cook recounts on a podcast with Tom Segura and Christine Pazinski, a podcast called Your Mom's House, Dane Cook was buying a house in California, but his business was still being run out of a P.O. box in Massachusetts. And Cook wanted to move everything to California. And part of that was hiring a new business manager to replace his half-brother, Daryl. And again, from Dane Cook's perspective, it's like, hey, you've been great. You've been doing this. And it's very common, Caleb, for stand-up comedians, and I think for a lot of entertainers, as they're coming up, they need someone to fill that role, so they'll put a family member in that role. And but at the same time, that it's pretty clear that the family member's not necessarily like been trained in that. They just are better at money stuff than the performer themselves, and they were around and they were willing to do it. So it's, to me, I guess I'm kind of reading into it, but I'm seeing this as being a natural evolution of Dane Cook's, the business side of Dane Cook as a comedian, where he's like, I'm at a point now where I'm moving across the country and I need to just get like a real legit business manager. So Daryl, you've been great, but I need to get somebody else. And Daryl was like, oh, hell no. And he dug in his heels about this, including Daryl, like even refused to send like financial files and things like that to Dane Cook's new business manager. He was like, no, I won't even send this stuff, which obviously, if you're a listener of this podcast, you know that's a huge red flag. So on this podcast, Dane Cook was telling Tom Segura and Christina Pazinski that just one night he just sat up in bed and it hit him. He was like, I think my brother stole all of my money. So that the next day he goes to the Bank of America and goes to like the bank manager and was like, hey, do I have any money in this bank? And the guy was like, nope, you don't. There's nothing in your corporate accounts. And so that was the beginning of the unraveling of Daryl McCauley's fraud, embezzlement of money from Dane Cook. So what had been happening is from 2004 to 2008, Daryl had been stealing money by transferring money from the business accounts to Daryl's own personal accounts. Again, super easy to do because Daryl's just in charge of all the business shit for Dane Cook. So in that podcast, when Dane Cook was being interviewed, he said that he himself had no access to any of his own accounts. I feel like that's weird. I don't know what you think, Caleb, but I get it if somebody else is managing my money. I'm never going to say I can't get to that money unless I'm like a heroin addict. But and as far as I know, that of all of Dane Cook's struggles, that wasn't one of them.
No, I don't get that impression. Yeah.
So he didn't have access to the accounts, but he just trusted Daryl to handle all of all the financial aspects of his career, which that's what a manager's supposed to do. And so when he started unpacking this and he got more and more information, he found out that like one of the biggest, most glaring things that happened is that in one instance, Daryl forged a check for $3 million. And all told, Daryl and Daryl's wife's name was Erica, and the two of them both got busted for this fraud, but way more Daryl than Erica. But together, they stole at least $12 million from Dane Cook. So the $3 million check, that was a quarter of what they stole. So obviously that one's going to stand out. In October of 2010, Daryl was sentenced to 5 to 6 years and another 16 years of probation. Erica was sentenced to 3 years and 13 years probation. And they were also ordered to pay restitution of the $12 million, which they had stolen. And in the years since then, Dane Cook, much like we just talked about with Billy Joel, he he's gotten a good attitude about the whole thing. And in 2018, he even posted a video on Twitter where he was showing that he was a clue on Jeopardy. Specifically, it was like, this person's brother-in-law stole $12 million from him. And so he posts like a video of him watching that Jeopardy and him being the answer to the Jeopardy question, which I get it. That seems like if Dane Cook had any questions that he'd made it, being an answer on Jeopardy is gonna verify that.
That seems like validation.
I'd like to be an answer on Jeopardy. That'd be nice. But in the podcast with Tom Segura and Christina Pazynski, Dane Cook had lots of laughs about this $12 million fraud, and even told that he was able to make money doing an arena tour that just like his arena tour was able to pay back the taxes that he owed, because on top of everything else, Daryl hadn't paid taxes on behalf of Dane Cook. And also interesting like little detail about this whole thing, and another thing that Dane Cook was joking around about was that the police apparently opened up a wall in Daryl's house and found $800,000 behind the drywall. Which, Caleb, that's freaking weird.
It's pretty funny
because I'm gonna say, if you go to the trouble to yank drywall off of your wall in your house and put $800,000 into your wall, and then you plaster it and have somebody plaster it and mud it and tape it and paint it. I'm not sure exactly how the police are going to find that. I don't know if there's cash sniffing dogs that are going to be able to find where that's at between the 16-inch center studs in your living room wall. But apparently they did, because the LAPD or the Boston PD
is in Boston. Yeah,
they're not fucking around.
I mean, I may be wrong, but I do believe that there are cash smelling dogs.
Are there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, the point is, Dane has a very good attitude about all this, and he was having a good laugh.
He was.
And then he does his like phony little Boston accent when he does it. He's like, "We found some money for you, kid." And he's like, anyway, but yeah, he's a good sport. Dane Cook.
Yeah. Which and again, he should be, but I mean, and if we're talking magnitudes of fraud again, so again, there was a $12 million fraud. That's a lot of money. And currently, Dane, and I'm sure this is down from his peak, but currently the internet is telling me that Dane Cook's net worth is $35 million. So $12 million, that's about a third of what he's got right now. So that's a pretty good chunk. But also, $35 million, he's going to be just fine.
So, Greg, what did we learn? Did we learn anything?
Yeah, I feel like
good.
I feel like I did.
Okay, go on.
And here's the main thing that really came to mind. My day job, I'm an in-house CPA for a group of medical office buildings. So I work with doctors, like the people who invest in the real estate that I manage. They are medical doctors. And what I found is celebrities and doctors are similar in how frequently they get screwed.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Working with doctors, I didn't realize this till I started doing it. But the interesting thing about doctors, and it's also true about celebrities, is that for a doctor, if you got somebody who's an independent doctor, so they're not necessarily hooked up with like a healthcare system, but if you've got, like, say, a specialist who owns his own practice, that is that doctor's business.
Yeah.
But what's weird about it is
the doctor is the business.
The doctor's, but he's like the technician. It's like it's like if you were like a HVAC, heating and air conditioning repair business, and you were the boss, but you were the only one who was going out and inspecting people's furnaces.
Right.
It's the same kind of thing. So your time is completely eaten up by getting the work done, like basically in these cases, providing the services that the business is doing. So because of that, you've got to get other people who are taking care of the business side of thing, which is completely flipped around how most businesses operate. You have a businessman who is like, this seems like a profitable business to get into, and I do business. This is a good business. I'm going to hire the right people to provide the services while I take care of the business. It's flip-flopped when you're talking about doctors. And from personal experience, I know that with doctors, you're going to be hard pressed to find somebody who at the end of their career has not had at least a couple of times where they've had like an office manager who stole a bunch of money from. That's a very common story with doctors. Same thing with these celebrities. With, we're talking here about a singer. We're talking about a stand-up comedian.
Yep.
They have not been trained in business. Not only that, a lot, and again, I'm speaking mostly from the stand-up comedy side because that's my what art form
domain,
my domain. And I listen to a lot of podcasts where comedians are interviewed. I have a lot of comedian friends, and a lot of people like I am doing this because I don't have any skills that could get me a job anywhere else, including like. They were shitty in school. They hated math. They, all this, that's very common to hear this kind of story. And so you've got somebody who just happens to be great at telling jokes or at music, but and it is one of those things, this, I know this, I hear it all the time where people like, that's crazy that you're a CPA and you do something creative like write and perform stand-up comedy. Because for most people, they think you're either one or the other. You can't be both. Mm-hmm. And for the most part, that's a stereotype because for the most part, it's true, is that you're going to excel in one and not in the other. But then, Caleb, add on to that. So you've got these performers who are busy, their pressures to write music or to write jokes and perform these jokes and go on tours and record their stuff and to make all the money. But then in these professions, it's weird how little, like going from your gross revenue to your net that your performer actually sees, it's dramatic.
Yeah.
The difference between it, because like, let's say you've got somebody who's got, an agent, a manager, possibly a PR person.
Yep,
You've
publicist.
got maybe a publicist, a designer who's like making sure you're dressing right, all this kind of stuff. So you've got this team of people. So like with Billy Joel, again, we were talking, he's getting $2 million every time he does a performance at Madison Square Garden. That's great. But if your agent takes 10% and your manager takes 15%, all of a sudden you're already down from $2 million to $1.5 million. So, and so when you go to your, even if things seem fishy, you go to your manager and go, didn't we just get $2 million for that concert? And they go, yeah, man, we did, but it sucks so bad because remember, we got to pay the agent, you got to pay me, you got to pay the venue, you got to pay, we had to pay the publicist, we had to pay for this, we had to pay for that. So at the end of the day, you only got $250,000, man. And which could just be entirely bullshit because maybe all that stuff was really only $1 million. And the crazy thing that I'm thinking about with Billy Joel specifically, do you remember the part of the story where it said that Frank Weber mortgaged his copyrights for $15 million without Joel's knowledge that he had done so?
Yep.
And again,
allegations, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But I think about that and I go, why would Frank Weber have done that? And I go, it's because the artist is just going to their manager going, hey, do I have enough money to buy this, buy this home in the, in the Bahamas, in Martha's Vineyard. And they go, and the manager wants to be able to say, yeah, you do, because you're killing it. And
that's
so
right.
what Frank Weber
you're
did,
Billy Joel.
You're Billy. Come on. And, and if they're embezzling money, they don't want to be found out. So the way that the artist is going to sniff out that stuff is happening is if they don't have the cash flow that they want to have. So Frank Weber goes and he gets a $15 million loan against Billy Joel's copyrights, so that when Billy Joel says, "Hey, can I buy a new Bentley?" then Frank Weber can go, "Absolutely you can. Here's the money. It's in the account. Go get the car." That right. Kind of stuff. So so again, you just have this, it's a financial literacy thing. But I mean, that's what I want to say, but that sounds like too trite even for this. It's that these artists, they are the business.
That's right.
But they need to have just some basic understandings of their business and how to keep track of that. And that's where
I mean, they don't, it means it's not like, it doesn't mean they have to be accountants. It doesn't mean they have to be, doesn't mean they have to know how to, the difference between debits and credits. But you're right. There has to be a certain amount of, a baseline of kind of business acumen.
Yeah.
So that when they look at an income statement and they see what's going on, and they can see, or even like you say, the example of one concert, and they look at, they look at the revenue and they look at the expenses and they can see the bottom line. They can look at that if they kind of have a baseline of acumen, and if something feels fishy, they can be like, tell me more about this.
Right.
I'm just the artist, so please help me understand it. Right. Yeah. And just knowing to ask questions.
There you go.
And I think the other thing that comes to mind for me in these situations is like, it's kind of a cliche in show business, but like, find the one honest person in show business. Go find that motherfucker,
right?
And hire them, right? Like, because they do exist, like, because obviously not everybody in Hollywood gets ripped off. So, or show business, whatever, whatever you like. But I guess my point is there has to be a certain amount of, I think, and we talk about it with small businesses too. And you can think of performers as small businesses.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Where you just think, okay, I want to work with somebody I trust, but also I should be pretty much skeptical of everyone.
Yeah. Like
it's everyone is guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah.
Like if you're an entertainer of some measure, like that's almost how you have to go into it, because you take it upon yourself to be skeptical of people until they've proven it's like, no, man, I'm going to do you right. And we can both do well. And this is the relationship. And they might also, I think what we've talked about in prior episodes is having that person kind of tell you, it's like, hey, this is where you're exposed. Like, this is how this is how you can get ripped off, and I'm going to do this so you don't get ripped off.
Right. Yeah.
And that's how and then be honest about, like, and that's how I earn my money. Right.
Yeah. And I think because I think a lot of here's part of what I'm hearing you're saying, or at least how my brain's kind of putting this together, is that people in this situation, when business isn't your forte, but you still have to, I think there's a little bit of humility that has to come into it, because again, you also go, oh, I'm the business, and you talk to your CPA and they're saying all these words that you don't understand, and you go, okay, I feel like an idiot because I don't know, I can't even understand what's being said.
Right.
So I don't want to ask these clarifying questions. That is your due. If you're not, and I think that's kind of what Billy Joel was even saying when he was taking, responsibility for the fraud happening. He wasn't asking the questions. I think these performers need to be able to go to their managers, their CPAs, or whoever. Again, if it's like, we just had a $2 million performance at Madison Square Garden, you're saying I only got $250,000 from it. Walk me through it. Show me where and go, oh, that they really got that much. Where is that? Serious? That's in the contract. Let's see that contract. Show me where that's at. You got to, and if they can walk you through that consistently, and again, it's imperative upon the performer to not let go until they truly understand it, and go, I'm paying you to make me understand why this is all I got out of this.
And if you're an entertainer, and if anyone ever says to you, after you've asked all these questions, if anyone says to you, Don't worry about it. Let me take care of it.
Right.
Fire that
Right.
motherfucker. Get rid of
Absolutely.
that person.
Even if
like,
if it's your ex-wife's
even if it's
brother.
your half brother. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But am I wrong that in like every like celebrity biopic that you ever watch, that there seems to be some part of the story, some beat of the story that's about them getting screwed financially by a manager who's usually a family member? Isn't that?
I mean, it is kind of cliche. Yeah, it feels like there's just countless stories about it. And like, again, this is I guess we'll have a podcast forever, and
right?
Because these are the kinds of things we can talk about.
But I mean, just because I'll just tell you, here's ones that come to mind immediately. I mean, did you see Elvis?
I did.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That entire movie was about him getting screwed by his manager.
100%.
That was
100%.
That I mean, there was a little bit more to it, but mostly it was him getting screwed by his manager from start to finish.
Yeah, but it was really from but the movie was told from the story was told from the Colonel's perspective,
right?
Which is so interesting.
Exactly. Yeah, which is very interesting. Mm-hmm. And then there was also just recently, it was not nearly as well received as Elvis, but there was a Whitney Houston biopic that just came out, and I want to say it was her dad.
It was her dad,
who was who was running the business and absolutely
spent all the money.
Totally mismanaged it, and she eventually fired her dad, but not until after she had been ripped off significantly by her dad. I think about Straight Outta Compton, about NWA, and there was who's the I can never remember his name. Who's the guy? He was also the actor in Sideways.
Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti. Yeah. And again, I don't necessarily think that he screwed them. I think that they signed a contract that was very favorable to him. Yes. Because he was taking a wild bet on them, and they ended up blowing up. So but regardless, the way from the narrative of the story, me not trying to defend Paul Giamatti's character in that movie, the beat of the story was they got screwed by their manager.
Yeah, right.
But even in then, I remember there being part of that story where Dr. Dre comes in, he goes, "Hey, listen, I read through the contract. I understand the contract. This contract is shit because we are not getting a fair amount of the money that we make for the company." So again, that's exactly what I'm going to say. That's an exception to the rule, that these people are actually reading through their legal contract for themselves. So I say, assuming that's historically accurate, good on you, Dr. Dre, for actually taking that kind of ownership of your own freaking business. And that's what needs to happen for these celebrities to be protected from this kind of mismanagement and fraud.
Or we may be on, maybe they'll hire us, Greg. Maybe we're the future of business.
I've thought about that. I've been like,
business.
Man, all these guys just need to come knock on Greg Kite's door and be like, "Hey, will you be Dane Cook's next business manager?" You're damn right, Dane Cook. When you hear this episode, give me a call. We'll tell you how to get a hold of me at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of the end of the episode, that's it for this episode. And remember, Joe Rogan said Dane Cook stole his jokes, but Joe Rogan also said ivermectin cures COVID-19.
And also remember that fame is a bee. It has a song. It has a sting. It can also make you the target of some shady mofos.
If you want to drop us a line at the podcast, please do. We'd love to hear from you. Send us an email at
Dane Cook.
Yeah, exactly. Our email is ohmyfraud@earmarkcpe.com. And Caleb, if Dane Cook wants to get a hold of you specifically, how can he find you?
Oh, he can try me on Twitter, I suppose, at C Newquist. And I don't think comedians are on LinkedIn, but I am on LinkedIn still at /Caleb Newquist. Greg, I think you've left the internet, right?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
But Twitter is now X or something like this. And
yes,
and it won't let me log on to it. So don't get a hold of me on Twitter because I can't even figure out how to access my account right now on there. But I am also on LinkedIn /Greg Kite, or just just drop me an email, greg@gregkite.com, or ohmyfraud@earmarkcpe.com. All of those come to both you and me, Caleb. So that's how you can do it, Billy Joel. If you'd like me to manage your finances, I couldn't do it.
You don't think so?
I couldn't do it, Caleb.
Oh, you couldn't work for Billy Joel?
No, not for him.
I understand.
That's so weird. I would think I would sell out so quickly if Billy Joel wanted me to be his manager. But I just don't think I could do it.
You're a man of principle, Greg.
No, that's just how repulsed I am by the music, and I don't think I could live in that world. So,
it's a good opportunity. You can just hear him talking. You can try to talk you into it.
Yeah. Him trying to persuade me. Come on, man.
It's like, what if I covered Nickelback songs?
Nice. Then I'm in.
Great. There we go. Oh My Fraud is written by Greg Kite and myself. Our producer is Zach Frank. If you like the show, leave us a review wherever you listen. Leave us a review or rate the show. Rating the show helps people find it. We want people to find it. You want people to find it because you like this show, right?
Yeah.
Right. Also, subscribe to the show on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen. For the accountants, listen on Earmark. Get some CPE. That's helpful.
That's so helpful.
Super helpful.
Yep.
Join us next time for more avarice, swindlers, and scams from stories that will make you say,
"Oh
my fraud."
My fraud.